Hi everybody, and welcome to this timely webinar on the VS National Training and Exercise Program. I'm Jason Baldwin with the Professional Development Services in Colorado. Wherever you are and however you may be watching this webinar, we thank you for being here today. Drs. Lee Myers and Paula Cowen have been the co-leads of the training and exercise planning effort since 2013. Today they will update you on the priorities and objectives of the plan, as well as the training and exercise events that VS and external stakeholders are going to be tackling this year. Before we begin, I should tell you that all your phone lines are on listen-only mode, and we'll open those up at the end of the presentation for questions. Paula will be our first speaker. Paula, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Jason. I think this webinar today is very prescient in that we have several people on their way to our first real event for this fiscal year and on their way to Indiana. I am very pleased to see that we still have quite a few on the phone today and going to take part in this webinar. This is our Veterinary Services National Training and Exercise Program, which Lee and I together started back in 2013. And it has really grown a lot in the last couple of years. We're getting ready to do our fourth workshop to plan for FY17 in April. We changed the name up just a little bit to make it more consistent with the other national programs within Veterinary Services, so hence a slightly different name change if you would notice that. And what is our VS Training and Exercise Program? It provides a national forum and a methodical process for not only veterinary services, but also our stakeholders that have a big input into what we do to be part of this plan. We identify priorities and objectives. We work with leadership and the stakeholders, and we map it out over 3 years to allow us to come up with a budget and a list of activities that we can accomplish. Who is on our team? Hopefully all of you know who represents you on this team. There are now 45 members. We're an all-volunteer Army. There are no full-time equivalents that are dedicated to this effort. And you can see from the slide that we have several participants that include our sister organizations within APHIS. We have all 4 business units within Veterinary Services represented, all 5 incident management teams. The emergency coordinator leads are all part of the team as well. And then we have the Department of Homeland Security, who has developed the framework by which all federal agencies should be developing an emergency preparedness and response plan. Then when we talk about our external stakeholder partners, we have membership from all of the multi-state partnerships as well as the state of California. And that encompasses 31 states, and when you add the NASAHO representative, we really have all 50 states represented on the team. And as you know, this is a cycle. We have to train people before we exercise them so that they know what they're supposed to do when they're exercised or when they have to go to a real event. And then we have to review that, do an after-action report, create a plan by which we're going to make it better for the next go-round. I'm now going to turn it over to my co-presenter, Dr. Lee Myers, to talk to you about what we accomplished last year, which was an awful lot in the face of everything else that was going on. Lee?
Thank you, Paula, and thank you everyone for taking time today to join the webinar as we talk about what we've done in 2015 as a VS program and then what we're planning for FY16. We've accomplished a lot during FY15. You see 40 training events, and that's much, much more than the original plan called for. However, in the face of an outbreak of highly pathogenic avian influenza, I really want to give Dr. Cowen and her team and the Professional Development Services kudos for stepping up to the plate and coming to the aid of the need for developing some just-in-time training and some additional training courses to meet our needs. And it's because of the plan and the program that we had developed that we've already had the infrastructure and the processes to do exactly that. So during peacetime, yes, we're focused on training and exercises on the preparedness end, but also very engaged during the emergency response as well. So on the next slide, you'll see how you can provide input. We have a survey that we send out each year. And the 2015 survey revealed these top 5 training topics. And so your input is very important. Last year we had 497 responses, which was just a great number of people that contributed, not only within APHIS, but our external stakeholders. And so your input into this survey, which is expected to come out February the 15th, is going to be critically important, so the team can then look at the comments and what's important to people as far as their training needs and exercise needs as they develop future plans at the annual workshop in April. So what about training and exercise events during last year? So the next slide shows a lot of activities with the traditional FADD course. The Professional Development Services staff trained some 60 FADDs last year. And then there's a list of additional training events. I want to highlight the refresher training course, and then you'll see 3 different HPAI type of training events that were put together there in light of the HPAI outbreak. And the next slide, I want to highlight the participation with the NVS program, with the poultry depopulation training. And you'll see 2 pictures there of NVS 3D contractors practicing with their KIFCO foam units. And this was in full PPE gear with a high protection suit in August, where they're practicing trying to create the the correct volume of foam, the right bubble size, troubleshooting the equipment, and this type of training really came to bear fruit during the event when they were much better prepared to respond for a logistical emergency than without the training. Also, you see Captain Bolt Veterinary Diagnostic Lab course as well. On the next slide, you'll see some emphasis on EMERS. EMERS continues to be high on the list, people requesting EMERS training, and I think you'll see a lot more of that in the future. Also, several wildlife disease courses, and the other one, risk communication. And this is something specifically we worked with our legislative and public affairs colleagues to incorporate some risk communication for veterinary services. And last year we were able to invite incident commanders and public information officers. And that plan is to repeat that training opportunity this year, and also invite the incident management team liaison officers to participate as well. We learned that veterinary services had the fewest people that were trained in risk communication. And so we're trying to do our best to provide opportunities to remedy that. One other event you'll see here is a webinar to mobilize the incident coordination group, and this was very timely and helpful because of the activities of the ICG with HPAI. There's also a series of where the rubber meets the road webinars on the next slide, and you'll see the 4 webinars that were provided last year. NAHERT was a big part of the efforts also during FY15. And next slide, you'll see some of the photos of the NAHERT folks getting trained. There were 100 trained, and of those, 69 deployed for multiple days. And so, again, having the structure available to rapidly bring these folks on board and get them through this training is a testimony for the preparedness phase of being prepared to do this. We also brought in, as you know, Veterinary Services, a number of term hires, and so those people had to go through some type of emergency response academy. And so you'll see there pictures of Dr. John Baer in the center there in the black shirt, who did a yeoman's job of trying to get all of these people through their emergency response academy. So last year there were 120 term hires trained, and so far this year in fiscal year 16, there's been 115 trained. As far as exercises, on the exercise front, we're also quite busy in FY15 conducting exercises, some 13 of them. And one of them you'll see there, the mobilization of the Incident Coordination Group to the AEOC, our annual April planning workshop. And something new this year was the VS National Incident Management Team Improvement Planning Workshop in September, where we brought together all of the National Incident Management Team personnel for the first time to really hammer out and do some lessons learned of the HPAI response and how that could be improved. And so that was such a grand success that Dr. Zach and Dr. Healy have agreed to have another gathering of all the incident management team personnel again in this late summer, early fall of 2016. Veterinary Services also participated in other events that were sponsored by external stakeholders. And so the next slide, you'll see a list there of some of the exercises that VS participated in. This is likely a subset. And one of the things we'd like to reach out and ask about is that our external stakeholders and our district personnel, please let us know what's going on out there, because we know there's certain training and exercise events that are going on in the district, and we'd like to do our best to try to showcase and highlight those to not only let people know that they're coming up, but also who to contact in the event they want information from those events. And then how to get in contact with perhaps getting a published AAR or improvement plan. So that just gives you a little idea of what we were doing in FY15. And so Paula then will go over our plans for the coming, the current new fiscal year 2016.
Thank you, Lee. A lot of the things that we have on tap for FY16 have happened already because we have been in an accelerated, amped-up mode trying to get ready for what has occurred today. And I'll go through a little bit of that. As we explained earlier, our training and exercise plan did expand last year as a result of key findings of things that needed to be added to the training and exercise plan after we started responding so robustly throughout the summer months. One thing that we really have honed in on with this training and exercise plan is that people are not going to get to go to training just to go to training. We are making people sign an agreement if they go to one of our sponsored trainings that they will be a deployable asset to that district and a national asset in the event of an emergency response if we have invested in them the dollars to train them. Not only that, they have to go back to their home office and share the information that they learned with both the internal and external stakeholders at home, kind of a train the trainer concept. We're trying to use our limited training dollars as wisely as possible and get the word and the expertise spread with that money as widely as possible as well. This, as I said, program has not got a dedicated person developing it. So it's Lee and I, and then we have a full-time contractor, and that is Brian Dymeke. Anyone who's attended any of our trainings has been getting emails from Brian. He is with SCS Corporation, which they tell me stands for nothing. It means just SCS. And we we reached out to them through Iowa State and a cooperative agreement, and they have really done a lot of heavy lifting to keep things on track, keep track of things, and keep things moving forward. In addition to that, we started this fiscal year to offer rotating details to people to come in for 60 to 90 days and help us work on focused aspects of this plan, certain projects, and we're able to keep the momentum going that way as well. As we said, we're really honing in on those ICS position-specific and task-specific trainings, and we're training God and everybody on EMRS. Chris Keller on my staff has been doing it full-time, full bore, all last year, and hasn't stopped yet. Right now, by the end of February, all of the temp hire data entry people are to receive EMRS training in each of the districts, and some districts are doing multiple offerings of that. So she's on the road starting Monday to Sacramento to do EMRS training out there, and it's been going to be going on all year. One thing that we do quite well in veterinary services is that we do after-action reports, and we do evaluate our training. However, oftentimes that's where it ends. We've been remiss in not doing a corrective action plan where we take those things that need to be improved and put them out on a spreadsheet, assign someone to fix it, and a timeline by which to get it done. And we're hopeful that we can now institutionalize a corrective action plan to help us get a little better every time we have either an exercise, a training course, or a real event. We would like to see, as we continue to institutionalize this, our own website on as either a clickable off of the NTEP website. That would be probably ideal. We have not yet built that. So currently, all of the rosters from all of the people that have received training through the program is being housed on the NTEP SharePoint site, and all of the ADs and DDs can get to that and see who in their districts have received specific trainings to date. We've also been doing our best to try to find different ways to do virtual training and exercises. This webinar is one example, and we're now on a new platform. As you all know, we don't have Food Shield any longer, so we're learning a new platform to try to deliver webinars, and we'll continue to explore new and different ways to get training and information out to people because travel dollars are limited. We also publish a calendar of training and exercise events, not only the ones that we host, but appropriate external events as well, like the, I believe it was called Invisible Fire, big exercise in the state of Kansas. Several VS employees, 3 of my own, were involved in that exercise. And so we'd like to keep track of those so that if you're looking to do an exercise where you are, you can look at that list and see a point of contact, call them up if you're doing something similar, and build upon others' work instead of reinventing the wheel. And we really want the districts to give us that information so that we can gather it all and have it in one place. We just learned today from reading the grassroots newsletter that District 2 had an exercise, and we didn't have that on our list, so we got that added today. So please let us know when you get involved in things out in your own districts. And of course, we're integrating One Health concepts into our training and exercise events. We have a One Health member on the team. We are keeping track of all of those traditional training courses that we have done and continue to do in the realm of foreign and emerging diseases. And then we are also trying to create training around those FAD prep documents. There's lots of training actually hung on the FAD prep website that you can just click on and walk through. There's just so much information there that it's really hard to to get through it all without some kind of guidance. We did hold a webinar last year where John Zach kind of walked through the FAD prep website and showed you a lot of the things that are out there. We are continuing to conduct some exercises. Of course, we're starting with the simple discussion-based ones and working up to functional exercises over a period of time and validating our processes as we go. We want to encourage everyone to take advantage of the people that are on the incident management teams of the EMSSD-sponsored training courses that are available to them in getting that ICS information that they need. If you are not on a team and you want to be on a team, you certainly can look to your local area to get incident command training that's within easy driving distance usually of most folks out there. LPA, as we mentioned, it has an annual risk communication course, and there's going to be one actually next week in Riverdale, hopefully. It won't be canceled. And so we are continuing to do that. We are partnering also with the FBI and doing some training courses district by district. We hope to get 2 districts done this fiscal year on how to conduct a concurrent criminal and FAD investigation. And you'll see more details on that coming along later as we get further into the year. We've also started already delivering training at the University of Delaware for the Poultry Depopulation Group Supervisor and the Poultry Carcass Disposal Coordinator. We decided that those 2 roles are so closely linked that they both need to go through the same training. So we've had 1 session earlier in the fiscal year, and the next one will be at the University of Delaware in April. And I believe that class is full already, isn't it, Lee?
Yes, I believe it is.
Right. We've talked about EMRS training already. I won't go through the list. We're doing as fast and furious on that as we can. We also took the logs chief, Lee took the logs chiefs and the IT unit leaders out to the Kansas City warehouse and did some work with them on the National Veterinary Stockpile. We've also compiled workman's comp training materials to have just in time, and probably we'll be needing them very soon, and have that in our pocket already ready to go. The One Health workshop was held in December, and they have a toolkit that they are rolling out. It is my understanding that they are also going to be taking that on the road and doing it district by district to smaller targeted groups, and hope to start yet this fiscal year. We also have an SOP on a transfer of command that we've been fleshing out and would like to start doing some tabletops with that. And you can read through this list and see the other things. We've held the workshop already on developing an SOP on the ROS linking to the EMRS when it comes to ordering personnel. That was held back in November. We had lots of action items trying to hammer out a better, smoother process of calling up people. We'll see if we've made some progress here very soon. And Lee, I don't know, do you want to speak to that last bullet?
As far as the incident coordination group?
Right.
Yes, Dr. Zach wanted to, much like we did before in trying to help have a webinar and workshop on developing the incident coordination group to the AEOC. They've had a lot of experience now with avian influenza, but Dr. Zach wants to know what an ICG would look like for a disease of classical swine fever or foot and mouth disease. So the purpose of that workshop was to try to help build that incident coordination group out of Riverdale for those 2 specific diseases that would affect swine and cattle and other, cloven hoof animals.
Great, thanks. We do have a contract, and they're developing a basic EMRS course that the ultimate goal is to have it up on AgLearn so that eventually anyone that comes on can learn how to do EMRS from the very beginning. And then we're also developing some drill materials to be used by the FADDs on entering data as well. We are doing a virtual workshop on area command with the northeastern states, and that's sort of a prelude to the big joint multi-state partnership association and VS tabletop for area command, which is going to be held May the 4th in Kansas City. And we're implementing a corrective action program, as I mentioned earlier, to try to get better every time we do something here. All right, Lee, I'm going to turn it over to you. I am getting a few questions, and people are clicking on my name and typing things in here, and I'll address those after we finish, so just hang on. Go ahead, Lee.
So it's easy to get overwhelmed when you're thinking about enhancing capabilities. And so it's a challenge for us to put together all the disparate suggestions on training and what people would like to have in combination with trying to validate that training through a series of exercises. So we've tried to concentrate on developing events that we can truly be successful. And you see the little round icon. We're moving on the continuum of enhancing capabilities. So we start out small with some of the simple training events and simple exercises, as Paula said, moving more and more to the right and to the top, culminating in more functional and full-scale exercises. And so as we go along, we're crawling and walking and running. So I think we're off to a good start in veterinary services, working hand in hand with our external stakeholders, but we still have a ways to go. But one of the highlighted events, Paula mentioned about the upcoming tabletop exercise we're conducting jointly with the multi-state partnership, and there's already 12 states that want to participate in that as players. So that's taking on quite a task for veterinary services. But that is one exercise that will be involved in a series of webinars and other exercises culminating in 2018 with a multi-state functional exercise. So that's one example of how we're trying to look years out and trying to work with VS leadership and external stakeholders to identify these national priorities so we can work on the same things together. So we want to tell you how you can engage in this whole process. I mentioned that the survey is expected to come out February the 15th, and I want to encourage you not only to respond yourself, but share that to colleagues in your own organizations so you can provide the very important feedback back to the team that's going to be looking at the assessment of that survey in building the FY 17, 18, and 19 plans. And as Paula emphasized, we really want you to help contribute to this training and exercise calendar of events. So there's a little form that you can fill out to present your event on the calendar. It's available in EMERS. If you want to go into EMRS and enter it yourself, you can. Or if you simply want to shoot an email to Brian Dimeke or Paula Cowen and myself, we'll make sure that that event gets added into the calendar. All of these events have work groups that are working to plan, prepare, execute, and evaluate that event. So if you're interested in certain events that is included in the plan, we want you to sign up and join and help to shape that particular event. And then as things come out, we want you to not only participate, but help promote those for us so we target the right people that can be engaged in the training and exercises. And by doing that, we want to promote some special events that are going on within the district. One example of that last year was a very good exercise that was put on by District 3 in Wisconsin for swine FAD sample collection, including necropsy, full PPE gear, and it was videotaped. And so that videotape went a long way in trying to put us onto the scene, those of us that couldn't go. And so those virtual technologies we're trying to get a lot better at as well. But we can help promote those for you and showcase those on a webinar like we did the event in District 3. So helping to promote that awareness and engagement of the National Training and Exercise Plan in your office and neck of the woods would go a long way. But we'd like to hear your suggestions. We want this built from the ground up to meet the needs of everyone across the nation. So we very much appreciate hearing from you. Some of the things that are coming up to put on your calendar is the February 12th Area Command 101 webinar. And Lisa Quiros is going to be presenting that on behalf of the California Department of Food and Agriculture. Lisa is also a member of our VS Training and Exercise team. And then subsequent to that, we're very pleased to have our own Dr. Jack Shearer, who served as a Joint Area Commander with Dr. Annette Jones during the exotic Newcastle disease outbreak. And so Dr. Jones and Dr. Shearer have agreed to provide a webinar on their success story, because they say the Area Command worked extremely well for them in exotic Newcastle disease, and so that we thought that would be an excellent way to showcase one success, and followed on the heels of Lisa's webinar on basic information about Area Command and some options of how Area Command can be structured. We know again, that a lot of people are focused and working on Area Command, not only multi-state partnership, but the New England states, and SADRA is also starting to look at that in the South. So this is, again, another example of how we're all looking concurrently at this, enhancing the same capability nationwide. So we do look forward to continuing to collaborate with all of you on it. You can learn more by contacting your team representative, because most all stakeholders should have some kind of representative on the team. If you don't know who that person is, you can contact Paula or me, or if you just want to send us an email directly, we'll quickly respond or ask that Brian do so on behalf of the SES team. So with that, Paula, I think we're going to open it up to questions.
Right. Jason, should I have one typed question. Should I answer that first, and then you'll give them instructions on how to ask a question orally if they want?
Let me give instructions first, and then
okay.
People can, if you have a question, please go to the emoticon menu. It's the hand you might see at the top of your screen. That'll raise your hand and put you in the queue, and then I will tell you how to unmute your phone lines. So while you're thinking of that, Paula, if you want to address those questions in the chat.
Great, thank you. So the question I have here is from David, and I'm probably going to butcher his last name, Jace. He wants to know if there's an opportunity for NAHRC-trained veterinarians that are not full-time APHIS DS employees to be able to take EMRS training, and if so, how? And I believe that for the NAHRC-trained people, unless you're activated and in a response mode, we do not yet have a mechanism to get you EMRS training. And then if you are deployed, it would depend on what position you're deployed to do, whether you would get EMRS training on site, because we certainly do provide EMRS training and support on site when we have an incident management team sent out. Okay, Jason.
I have another question from Robin Grange. She's asking, will notices or invites regarding the upcoming webinars be sent out?
Right. So like we did with this one, we usually send a VS All message from our professional development staff email account or services branch. We have a new name. And then we ask that members of the team forward this to others so that they get notification when we're doing a webinar as well. This platform will hold a lot of people, and so there's no limits as far as I know on the number of people that we can have on a webinar that we host. And we are planning a number of webinars that are in various stages of development beyond those two that were highlighted by Lee. We're looking at doing some additional ones on the secure food supply later on, having some people that went to some of those trainings at the University of Delaware and the University of Maine talk about their experiences, and a number of others that environmental sampling, I think, is another one that we're looking at trying to get developed for everyone.
Jason, Paula, I also want to mention, and Jason, you were probably going to do this before we ended, but this is being recorded, and so this will be posted on the website, and so Jason will send out those particulars later. So in the event you want to go back and refresh what we reviewed or actually access the actual plan itself, we can provide a link for that as well.
Again, if you have a question you'd like to ask by phone, please click on the hand to raise your hand and you'll be put in the queue. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions come in. Paula and Lee, do you have any final words for the attendees today?
I can't think of anything other than just be sure you get in contact with us if you want more information. And Lee, do you have any? You usually have something eloquent to say.
Oh boy, now I'm really put on the spot. But no, I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm actually behind this program. And I think this is one success where we truly are working side by side in unified effort with our external stakeholders, because we think it's important to, I guess, use a Department of Defense line that you train like you fight. And I think we truly believe in that we need to train together, we need to exercise together, because as evidenced just today, we're certainly going to be in the trenches together responding to an emergency. So again, thank you everybody for your support, your ideas, because it is those that actually formulate the program.
I would like to thank our presenters today, Dr. Paula Cowen and Dr. Lee Myers, and I want to thank all of you for being here. Watch your email for more information on those upcoming webinars in the Emergency Preparedness and Response series. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Bye, everybody.